Hi, it's your Star Goddess. Vlogtober day 13. We're already into day 13, y'all. Can y'all believe that? So, we have about 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, or give or take a few days until Halloween. And I think, yeah, 3.5 weeks or 3 weeks until Halloween, and I can't wait, y'all. So today I had to get up super early and go to my daughter's school for a teacher parent conference because I'm the one that set it up, because I want to talk about little Sasha, and she has not been doing very good in her math, so I just wanted to go see what's going on. Anyway, so the teacher tells me that Sasha's kindergarten teacher did not work well with her, didn't write down that she was having problems, and she really just kind of ignored and skipped over Sasha's issues, and that's probably why she's a little bit behind in math. So I just got to work with her extra for a few weeks and she should be okay. But the teacher's blaming it on the teacher last year, and the funny thing is that same teacher has now been transferred to first grade and has a classroom right next to her, and she was like basically dissing her. I was like, okay, I understand. She's like, yeah, she's not a very good teacher. Like, wow, you really said that. And I know because last year I had a conference with that teacher, and I actually volunteered to go on a field trip with that teacher. That teacher must have been like her first year, because she could not control her classroom. She just couldn't keep up, y'all. She was just a newbie, and she needs more experience, obviously. But I can't blame her for not having experience. But I was kind of upset that my child had to actually suffer for her inexperience. So that's when you got to take matters into your own hands and step in and, you know, get into the school and kind of, you know, see what's going on and where they're failing, so you can, you know, pick up the slack at home. Because a lot of teachers these days, they're overwhelmed, they don't have time, they don't really care, so you have to care as a parent. And she commended me for coming in. She says, because most parents wouldn't have cared, they would just been like, oh well, but I care. Anyway, so today I want to talk about, you know, being a controversial YouTuber, and that's for basically anybody who's, you know, into spirituality, a witch, into magic and all that stuff, because y'all we have to deal with, you know, certain crazy people trolling us. And I'm like, this is not a video to bash Christians again, because not all Christians are, you know, fanatics. And when I say that, I mean, like, I do have a few Christian viewers who will write me in the comments and say, well, I'm Christian and I have an open mind, and that's wonderful. And I think that more people should, especially Christians. But the thing is, you have those fanatics that ruin it for everyone. So I'm just gonna say, I'm not gonna bash anybody today. I'm just gonna say, when you have trolls like that, like I will just call them religious trolls, when you have religious trolls, you kind of have to deal with that when you're a YouTuber and you're controversial, or you teach, you know, something that's not, you know, according to what a lot of people, you know, believe or think is right. They think they're actually doing work for God when they troll on you. And I'm like, okay, well, thank you for bringing that to my attention, but I don't work with your God, so can't really acknowledge your God if I don't work with your God. And but what's in it for you? Why are you trying to get me to convert or see your God for what he is? I've already seen what your God is, and I don't agree with it, so why are you still on my page, basically, you know? So they have it in their mind that they're supposed to convert people, and they've been sent out to convert people, and I'm like, well, I've already been there and done that, and I don't want to go back, so thank you. And they just won't stop. It's just like they think their mission in life is to bring people to God, and it's like people have already been to God and some of them just don't agree with the God of the Bible. You know, just because I don't believe in the God of the Bible doesn't mean I don't think that there is a higher power or a source energy. Doesn't mean that. Just doesn't mean I don't believe in the patriarchal God of the Bible. That's all. And many people don't. So, you know, you got your work cut out for you. Sorry you couldn't convert. You couldn't convert me back, but, you know, good luck. I was fixing my mirror, y'all. Okay, so I got a mortuary story, y'all. So, this mortuary story is, let me think. Okay, I get it. This mortuary story is about another crooked funeral home that got closed down. So, this was the first funeral home I worked at, y'all. And it was built in an old restaurant. It looked like it used to be one of those old Long John Silver seafood restaurants or something like that, or some type of seafood restaurant. And they had it like transferred and created into a funeral home. So first of all, it's like at the end of a shopping center, and the parking lot is super small, just, you know, small enough for like a small restaurant. And y'all know when they have funerals, lots of people come to the funeral, so they had to park like in the field, in other parking spots, and the parking was terrible. Okay, it was terrible. Okay, this shouldn't have even been a funeral home, y'all. But so this funeral home did not make a lot of money because it was new, it was small, it was in a bad location, it was just not right. So this was my first job. I was still in school. I wasn't a funeral director yet, y'all. This was just getting my feet wet. And this guy, he was a nice guy. He had like a hearse and a limo, and parked in the back of the funeral home. And there was like lots of homeless people around the area, and they would somehow get into the back of the limo or the hearse and sleep in there at night. And so every morning he would have to go and like get the people out of the car, because I don't know, it's either somebody kept leaving it unlocked, or they had a way to get in, or I don't know, they had one of those things to open the cars. But so then he just started putting alarms on them. But the thing that he did that was so crooked and was very, very, very bad for the environment, the medical waste, you're supposed to hire a medical waste company to come remove your medical waste. Soiled garments, blood-soaked garments, the stuff that you use to clean with up the deceased people, you know, just stuff like that. There's stuff that you use on dead bodies that you're supposed to dispose of medically, and a medical waste company is supposed to come and pick your medical waste up, and you're supposed to pay them monthly. Well, he wanted to skip out on that, you know, extra bill. So he would just dump everything in the regular old dumpster behind the funeral home. And, you know, in Texas it's hot. Okay, so that dumpster would start smelling foul, like worse than a regular dumpster, like dead body foul, because there was, you know, old blood in there, there was soiled sheets in there, there was just medical waste in there. So there was like this stinky smell throughout the air, and like everybody started complaining about it in the shopping center, because there's restaurants in that shopping center. There was like a restaurant, a hair salon, and all that. And so finally somebody called like the health department on that funeral home. I didn't work there anymore when they finally got busted. I'm always escaping, just like in the nick of time. So they gave him like this huge fine for dumping medical waste into the regular trash. And Oh my God, y'all, this is so nasty. They took all that trash out of the dumpster, and in the dumpster at the bottom, it was just saturated with old, dead blood and just liquids that had came out of the trash. So it was like this goop and pile of medical waste and old blood. Y'all know how old blood smells? It just stinks really bad, y'all. And it smelled like a death, like rot. It smelled like vomit, feces and urine and dead fish and garbage all mixed together. And it was making people actually get sick and vomit just by walking by. So they had to take that dumpster and bring in a new dumpster, and they gave him like this huge fine he could not afford to pay. So basically he had to close his funeral home down in order to pay that fine. And so he moved back to his little small town where his family had a funeral home. But you can't cut corners in the funeral industry because you will get found out. And it was, you know, it was sad that that happened, but you know, you have to do things right, because that's like a health hazard. You know, people can get sick. It was nasty, but okay. There are certain nights where you're on call, which means if someone dies in the middle of the night, you get the call and you go with the hearse to pick up the deceased person, right? So you're kind of like, you want to stay up so you don't have to get interrupted out of your sleep. So we were young, y'all, so we could stay up all night. So me and my friend who worked at the funeral home, we started dating. It was this guy from New Orleans, and he was kind of cool, and we started dating. And so we would just go hang out around the area, you know, until we got a call. And one night we got a call, and we were like, okay, you know, we had been drinking a little bit, but not much, because, you know, we were on call. So we have to go and remove a deceased person. And they were at these apartments for cancer patients who did not live in the city, and they were just living there so their loved one with cancer could get treatment at, you know, the Texas Medical Center, because that's like one of the best cancer treatment places. So the lady didn't make it. She died, and we had to go to one of these little cancer apartments. I don't know what they call them, but and pick up her body. And they had an elevator, and then they had stairs. And we were newbies, y'all, because we weren't licensed yet. We were just, you know, still in school. And so we didn't know, we didn't have any experience. And we took the gurney with the body on it to the elevator and tried to get it in the elevator, and it wouldn't fit it all the way. It was too long. So we said, okay, oh man, we got to take the stairs. It was like 3 flights of stairs. So we're like struggling with this body going down 3 flights of stairs. And we get back to the funeral home and, you know, put the body on the embalming table. And then the next day we're telling our boss what happened. He's like, why didn't you just stand the gurney up? Like, stand it up, straight up, and it could have fit in the elevator. I'm like, we didn't think about that. And plus, you know, y'all do that? And yeah, we do it all the time. I'm like it was kind of distasteful to me to stand the body straight up, you know, on a gurney. So I said, well, okay, well, next time. So it's just like the weird things you don't think of that some funeral directors do, and you would think it was inappropriate, but they do it all the time. And I'm like, okay, didn't think of that because it didn't seem right, probably, but okay. Anyway, so if you're a funeral director and you're trying to get into an elevator and the gurney doesn't fit and the doors won't close, you have to stand it up straight. Okay. Anyway, I will see y'all later because my time is coming up to an end on this video on my little SD card. And I think it's, you know, I think it's kind of cool that I can share this with you guys and y'all appreciate these stories, because some people, they're like, oh my God, stop talking about your old job, and you know, I don't want to hear about that. So it's kind of good to have an outlet. So thank y'all for listening. Bye.